Okay, I'll read it out first. So Miss Pauling's chemistry class has 5 lab benches, each of which seats 2 students. If 6 students file into her otherwise empty classroom and each student picks a random available open seat, what is the probability that at least one of the lab benches is completely empty? And so the key word here is at least. It's very important. Oftentimes with at least, that means that you can take the complement of the number, like find the probability that that thing's not going to happen, and then you'll get your final answer like by doing that. And so we do that. We find the probability that no lab benches are empty, and so our answer will be equal to 1 minus the probability that no bench is empty. And so now we'll figure out what the probability of that is. So a good practice in general is to first set very clearly, like if you're going to care about like the number of orders, like if you want to establish if whether or not you're going to care about the order of in which the students arrive at each lab bench. I'm going to say that we don't care. So there will be 10 choose 6 ways to choose. We can label the lab benches like A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, D1, D2, and E1, E2. So we're going to make the individual seats in the lab benches distinguishable, and the students are indistinguishable. So that means that we have 10 choose 6 ways to choose 6 seats. And next, so the 6 students come in and they choose 6 seats. So that's the denominator. Now we have to figure out how many of these result in every single lab bench having at least 1 student. So in order for that to happen, it has to be 6 into 5 spots, which would have to end up being 2 in 1 lab bench and 1 person in each of the 4 other lab benches. That's the only way that this is possible. And so that means that we have, now we're just going to count the number of ways in which we can have 6 students sit down in these 5 lab benches, each of which has 2 seats, such that each lab bench is not empty. So we first have a 5, because we choose which lab bench will be full, which will have 2 students. And then next, we're left with 4 lab benches, each of which has 1 student. And for each of those lab benches, we can put each student in either of the 2 seats. So we multiply that by 2 to the 4th. And so this is 5 to the 2/4 ways for the student to choose 6 seats so that no lab bench is empty. And now we just compute the final answer, which is 1 minus the probability that no bench is empty, which is 5 times 2 to the 4th over 10 choose 6. And then you evaluate this. Yeah, this part isn't terribly important. And you get 13 21sts. So yeah. Oh yeah, the important thing there is to let 10 choose 6 equal 10 choose 4 to make the calculations easier. And then you get the answer.